Pandemonium Reigns.
CBS 3:30 kickoff. Tennessee travels up to Columbia, Missouri to take on the 14th ranked Eli Drinkwitz-led Missouri Tigers. Lightsabers and all. Man. Words. Mizzou is the difference, I'm going to say it again, between 8-4 and 9-3, and it ticks me off because going into the season, everybody dismissed Mizzou. We chalked it up as a win, and now we're looking at it going, well, dang it, Cotton Pickett, can we go up there and get the job done? As you and I just talked before, the line has moved from their favor now to ours. It sits at -1 in favor of the Vols, but man, I'm just waiting for the moment in this Tennessee season outside of Florida, because Florida happens so often, where I just go, yep, there it is. That's the Tennessee that I've come to know and love.
What can you do about it? What can you do about it? I think what you do is you of course have to work in retrospect here. You can't. We never know these things coming in, but what you do is you look at the preseason expectations, the records that we all developed, and you say, well, South Carolina is what we kind of, maybe they're worse than, but they're probably what we expected Missouri to be. Kentucky, they're not great. You could probably slide them a little bit more. Missouri is and you lost to Florida, so this is really saying something. They're the second or third toughest team that you're going to play. I mean, you'd have to say, right?
Yeah.
And we expected it to be something like, in conference, Vanderbilt, Missouri, maybe nobody saw this come from South Carolina. I really can't. I can't put them there because nobody saw this South Carolina when we looked at what they did to close out last season. Yeah, I mean, Missouri was down near the bottom because it was a lot of the same pieces. Yeah, they live in the portal a little bit. They do their thing there. But it was Brady Cook, who we thought was, probably an athlete playing quarterback, a white athlete playing quarterback at that. Yeah. Luther Burden has always had all the potential in the world, but this is the same guy that was removing Missouri-related things from his social media last year around this time.
Yeah.
I mean, Theo Weiss, he wasn't a world beater at Oklahoma, and Lord knows you have every opportunity to be a world beater when you're at Oklahoma and you're a 4 or 5-star recruit like he was. Massive props to those guys for putting out the season that they have, and we're about to give our thoughts on it.
Yeah, and all those names that you throw out there is you failed to mention the leading rusher in the conference, and Cody Schrader.
Yeah, how odd is that, huh? I mean,
yes.
how
especially
how
since
wild
he's white.
Is that?
I'm just going to say
that. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. There is Alabama getting back to murder death ball that everybody told us about and that I bought into to a pretty great degree. Georgia, you expect Georgia to put out the leading rusher right now because they're so committee driven. They're going to have 4 dudes have 750 yards is what they're going to do. It's really weird. It is really weird. You might have thought maybe Florida because they're more of a 2-back system. Maybe it could be Johnson, maybe it could be Etienne, the younger.
Yeah.
Nobody, if anybody called Cody Schrader to lead the SEC in rushing and yards in week 10, please show me the receipts.
Wasn't me.
Please show me the receipts.
I mean, I drafted Jalen Wright in our fantasy league for a reason.
Yes, you did. Yeah, and it's paying off. I mean, he's right up there near the top, if not in second, with honestly, a chance to really use that as some motivation this week.
Yeah,
kind of prove the guy that he is and that he's been.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you had Cody Schrader, the white senior, 5'9", 214 pounds, leading this conference through the majority of this season, you're crazy, and I need to see the receipts.
Yeah, for sure. Faux show. Listen, if Mizzou can pull this out, which I think they can, I think they have the recipe to do it. I think they have the pieces. If they pull this out, you gotta like Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri for the long haul now, right? I mean, he's what a heck of a turnaround in year 3 for him. Is that a credit, you think, to giving a coach enough time? I mean, we've referenced Brian Harsin, what, 1,100 times? Like, man, if it's not working, just cut him. Look how it worked out for Auburn in year 2. But think about what this could do for the trajectory of Mizzou going forward. Think about the narrative of, Tennessee and Mizzou won't continue to play annually, so they'll put an L on our forehead before that changes, before Texas and Oklahoma join the conference. There's a lot that will play into their favor if they can pull out a win.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. This is one of the games that will lose. This series has been oddly back and forth. It's been
darn,
streaky.
By the way. Sorry, I mean to cut you off. Darn, no. I sure do love playing these guys.
You're stepping on exactly what I'm throwing out. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Who cares? It's been a streaky series. It's probably the least significant game on the schedule because at least in the West, you've played those teams historically, except for Texas A&M. Tennessee is the reason that Texas is a state, that it's not North Mexico. You can at least use that in that rivalry. But yeah, I mean, what's it matter? Like, honestly, we're losing little to nothing here. The games have been entertaining for the most part. The last 2 Missouri wins, 2017, 2018, were as lopsided as they've been for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Tennessee has beat them the last 2 years by 80 points combined. And go back to the Tennessee win before that at Missouri in 2019. You had 3 receivers go for 100 yards. I mean, it's just been the wildest kind of series in the time that they've been in the SEC. We're losing little to nothing in this. I think it is absolutely a testament because this is his 4th year. He was there in 2020, right?
Man, if he was, I don't know.
And I feel like he was. I feel like Pruitt got him there in 2020. I think it was that was the time frame that he replaced Barry Odom there. I think it is absolutely a testament to keeping the guy if there are signs of reasons to do that. Harsin, obviously, like we talk about all the time, never gave Auburn that. I don't know what it would have been for Drinkwitz last year, because if that was year 3 for him last year, I don't know why you'd say, other than your Missouri, yeah, let's keep this guy. I think there's, he's showing growth. I think it's coming together for him. We're going to push 10 wins next year. I don't see it. So maybe they lucked into it. And, who knows? That you'll never hear an honest answer on that. But I think it's a testament to when the situation is right and he's not losing the team, not losing games to, FCS opponents and lower level group of 5 opponents, that you give the guy a chance.
Yeah, that's fair. 2020 confirmed. That was his first year in Mizzou.
Yeah. I think it's the Jabari Small run, one of his first carries as a Vol that for some reason reminds me that he was there in 2020. I don't know why.
Okay. Well,
but yeah,
probably had a lightsaber on the sideline.
He probably did.
Anyway, so yeah, a lot to like for Mizzou going forward. If they can pull this out, be a big win for them. I mean, that would put them at 8-2 on the year, with Florida and Arkansas remaining, which I imagine they're going to be favored in both of those. But then you look to the other side, those that are clad in orange, and what a loss here does and what a win does here. Obviously, a loss completely knocks you out of the East race. A loss, again, year 3 for Heupel. I think that's going to be disappointing, just regardless of how good Mizzou is, right? Or is not. Probably disappointing going forward, just simply due to the comparison and brand and logo, especially coming off the year that we've had. We've gone 7-5, 10-2, and now 7-2 going into this game on Saturday. So probably disappointing, but if you win it, which hopefully Vegas is telling us something, with the spread now being in our favor, you win this, East is still on the table. And I'm not saying that if you've listened to this podcast at all, you've heard me say we're not beating Georgia. We're not beating Georgia. But what it does is it sends this unwarranted pressure down in Athens, Georgia. right?
Yeah.
Because if we win this game, they're still competing for the East. I believe if we lose this game, it's all but locked up for them. Again, not saying that we're going to beat them, but you can imagine the difference in Neyland Stadium going into this game 7-3 as opposed to 8-2. Neyland's going to be ready to compete for the East against Georgia. I don't know if that'll be enough to actually do it, but I think it sends a weird pressure down to Athens.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It would be so nice to have. It is already nice if you win this game. Yeah, you need help from Ole Miss, but to be in a game that decides the division with the powerhouse that Georgia currently is in November, where we've not, positions we've not been in, just hoping to get into bowl eligibility. It's such a nice difference and a positive step for the program. I'm still with you. I think 8-4, 9-3. It's one game in the columns, but I think it is a disappointment. And like I just said, I think Missouri is proving to be, at worst, the third or fourth toughest team on your schedule, especially in the conference. And it's on the road. Now, their road environment, I'm not even going to go into that. I don't think that much of it, just to be honest. I don't think they have the greatest home field environment at all in the world.
You're talking roughly 60,000.
Yeah, there's that. There's the size of it. There's some of the habits that you see on social media. They're just different. They are different. Yeah. They're coming out of the Big 12 still, to be honest. I mean, it's, even though it's been 10 years, it takes time to get out of that mindset and to get into the life, the blood of football that is the Southeastern Conference. But I think that's your line of demarcation. Is it a success, or is it what you expected, or is it a failure?
Yeah.
I'm still with you on that. I think 8-4 is that kind of, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're looking at potentially saying that about the Florida and the Missouri games, not to mention the meltdown in Bryant-Denny in the second half.
Yeah, that's another frustrating argument that we could be 8-1 going into this game, but here we are. And I need to correct myself. Ole Miss has to beat Georgia in Athens on Saturday for us to have a shot at the East when Georgia comes to town. Yeah, dude. I mean, right there with you for the most part. I do feel like Mizzou is a little more SEC than a lot of Big 12 schools at this point, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So we've talked about what the win or losses would do for the trajectory. All right, so ESPN has got this at in our favor, the FPI 60.6%. I want to talk about the over/under though for a minute, 58.5. So let me tell you why I want to talk about this. I like to listen to JD Piquel. I turned him on for a minute, and he is going to tell you that Tennessee wants to keep this game low. We want to keep this in the 20s. Basically saying that you don't want to get into the shootout if Mizzou can catch fire offensively. You don't want to do that with them. Basically questioning, do we have the horses that can race with them? Do we have the horses? Yes. Are they capable of running? It depends on the day. That would be my thing. I want to know your thoughts about that. He thinks that if you get this game up into the 30s apiece, that it starts to play into Mizzou's favor. But if it stays in the 20s or lower, that it's in Tennessee's favor. And what Tennessee wants to do is to, kind of wear you out, not necessarily like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, because we're going to get our yards. And I imagine we'll have, a run of 15, run of 25, maybe in a run, somewhere in the 30, 40, 50 yard run. But nonetheless, I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that is still so opposite of what has been the norm in wins for Heupel at Tennessee, especially so far, or for Heupel in general, actually. So far as terms of him being a head coach.
Yeah,
it's all been over 30 until Texas A&M this year. And look, I think it's an absolute great thing. I don't know that this. Here's the issue: is I don't think this is what JD's getting at. I think it is an absolute great thing if you can keep Mizzou under 21, under 28. I think that's a huge testament to the defense, especially now that they're doing these things without Kamal Hadden at corner.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to test, not only, like I've been saying, the third, fourth best team that you're going to play all year, if not better than that, the receivers, man. I mean, there's this talk about Burden. Is he healthy? He's listed as questionable, which I think is the biggest gamesmanship move that I've seen in some time, maybe since Butch Jones or Jeremy Pruitt. We're making quotes and stupid remarks as, coach speak things.
Yeah.
I think he'll play. What he'll do, though, whether he's full strength or not, is he's going to take attention. He's going to take 2 and 3 guys sometimes with eyes on him, creating opportunities for the other guys. And that's just not great when you're talking about those guys matching up with maybe Danico Slaughter, the way he's played this year, Warren Burrell. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be a freshman? Is it going to be Ricky Gibson on the road in the SEC? I don't know, and I don't like those things. Like I'm saying, I think it's an absolute great thing if you can limit Missouri, but I don't know that that's the formula for Tennessee these days. I still think that you should find success moving the ball because of the tempo, because of what you have done the last 2 years.
Yeah,
they've had a lot of the personnel is the same in this game, or it's very similar as it has been these last 2 blowouts. Minor differences on either side. I don't know, man. I still think the best formula is for Tennessee to find 35, 38, low 40s if possible.
Okay.
Then again, will Tennessee be able to do that with the clock running? All of the things that are college football in 2023. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I still think the best formula is. I don't think it's that lower scoring game necessarily, unless Tennessee's defense just pitches a masterpiece.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I'm going to agree with you. His argument is mainly going to be that we're not the identity of old, where we're just going to take the top off of you. Where Hyatt's going to be, down the seam or down the sideline, or in this case, Dante or Squirrel, whoever it might be. But it's going to be more of a we're going to live more in the mid range on the digs and the comebacks and stuff like that. I would say, I think it's going to come down more to, can Tennessee just sustain drives? Can we and drives that begin to stall or not go away, can we find a way to get 3 out of it? Basically what we've done, right? Where that game with Kentucky where we kept putting up points on the board. And I think if we can do that, I like our chances. I will say this though, offensively, if they decide that our backfield is not going to win this game for us, and they load the box, I'm going to get a little bit nervous because it's going to start to steer to the shootout, and we're going to have to put the ball in the air more than we want to. And I will say that Joe Milton has improved on the year. I don't think he's anybody's expectation coming out of the preseason, but I think so. The opposite side of that same coin is if we can find our chunks of yards on the ground, if we can hit that 220, 30, 40, even 50 range, which is what we've been doing on the ground with Jay Wright and Sampson and now a healthy Jabari Small, I like the odds, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't see any reason. I can't find the reasons when I think about this game that Tennessee's offense should look like Texas A&M at home or Alabama in the second half on the road. I know that Missouri's improved, but there's just no reason that they should cause that many issues for the pass game. And when you look at even the Texas A&M game with the girth that we've talked about that they have on their interior defensive line, the playmaker that they have at linebacker, his name escapes me at the moment. Is it Edgerrin Cooper?
Yes.
Yeah, him, who Milton knocked out of that game late. There's no reason that Tennessee should struggle to find mid-20s, low 30s in my eyes. But anything can happen. That's been the case. Tennessee has been, not great on the road. And like I talked about a minute ago, the environment shouldn't be the issue that it has been in other areas. But, I mean, simple things have become very hard on the road at times. So you can't allow that to be the case. To me, you've got to continue to run Joe, or at least make him a threat to do that. And I think I'm talking about, my first 2 options are covered. Let me get out of here type deals. Not just designed, okay, quarterback power left, right, speed option left and right, not those same old things that we've done with him. But, when they're defending a pass, he's escaping, breaking contain, and lowering the boom on somebody at the line at the line of the game, excuse me.
For sure. And let's get a tush push in there for crying out loud. I mean, why have we not done? Yeah.
One of these days.
Yeah. One of these days. I'm with you, man. I want to see the pass rush return.
It's time.
I don't think it's necessarily come off the edge that's been the issue. I think it's been the interior push, the lack of production out of Amari and Omar Norman Lott. Man, I about jacked that up real bad. That would not have been safe for YouTube. Anyway, that's gonna have to make its return. We're gonna have to get some push, and I think that's where we've seen the lack of production in the sacks on the numbers, because Pierce has gone 2 games now, maybe even 3 without a sack at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't think the edge. I'm not blaming the edge defenders. I'm going to put some fault there on the interior front and ask for more out of those guys. And if we can do that, I continue to like the odds for us.
Yeah. Of note, real quick, just since we're on that topic, Missouri has allowed 16 sacks on their quarterbacks. I'm not going to say just Brady Cook, because I don't know that that's the case. They've allowed just 16 sacks on the year in terms of their offensive line and protection. Tennessee's still holding tough at 15. So that's a very even battle so far. And I just think, you can't lose that battle significantly by any means. Milton's done a pretty good job lately of his awareness being on point, getting rid of it if he needs to. I mean, he's been super safe with the ball. So you got to continue to do that. You can't put the ball in risk with this secondary. I will say they are really dynamic. Saw some of the plays they made against Georgia's, pass catchers. And, you can't put it at risk, especially in this game, especially on the road.
Yeah, no.
That secondary is one of the better units that we'll probably have faced. It's just, will we have time to abuse them potentially?
Yeah, I'm with you. I will say this: Brady Cook, he makes me nervous. He makes me real nervous. He's playing really good ball right now. So, all right, let's get into preview and prediction. Are we ready for this?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Before we do this, let me tell you about our friends over at North Forsyth Training and Fitness. That's not a word. Fitness, proud sponsor of the Pandemonium Reigns podcast, located at 4015 Browns Bridge Road in the Cumming area, right across the street from Browns Bridge Church, if you're familiar with that. If you're looking to change your life physically or just find a new gym, let me tell you, NFTF is the place for you. I'm a member there. I go there every day. Well, 6 days a week. Same difference. It feels like 7 sometimes. Listen. Head coach and owner Jesse Foster, he's got all the credentials. He's got all the experience to help you get where you want to go, and he's going to modify his programming to you, no matter your age, no matter your comfort levels, where you're at in your fitness world. They got morning classes, afternoon classes. It's a community-driven gym, so you got people to reach goals together with, if that's the proper way of saying things. Listen, right now, after you hit like and subscribe on this podcast, give Jesse Foster a call right after this, 706-633-6609. Jesse Foster, 706-633-6609 over at North Forsyth Training and Fitness, and tell them the boys at Pandemonium Reigns sent you. Let's get into preview, or I guess the prediction. I always say preview and prediction. We just previewed it. Let's predict it now. Again, ESPN 60.6 in favor of the Vols. The line has moved from Mizzou -1.5 to now Tennessee -1. Over under is set at 58.5. Fairhope Field holds 62,621 people, just in case you're curious. Michael Walker, tickle my ears.
How many of those 62,600 sit on rocks instead of bleachers? Okay, getting past that. I think there's issues for Missouri in this game, like there are issues for Tennessee, such as the receivers on the outside, the things that we've mentioned. I think Tennessee, if it's on point in this game, this is going to be one of the 2 third at worst best pass rushes that they faced this year. We've talked about what Georgia has lost in that department.
You said worst?
At worst, I think the second or third toughest that they've played.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not sure how that came out on my end. Because like I said, we've talked about Georgia. Now they're so stiff from front to back still defensively, even though they have taken a step more towards normal, towards more average defenses in the SEC. They're not the absolute great wall of Athens that they have been the last few years. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be one of the best pass rushes that they faced if things are working for Tennessee. I think that presents problems for Missouri. I think the Vols win this game 37-27.
37-27 in favor of the Vols. And you're going to feel good if that's the conclusion? You're going to feel good about that win?
Ultimately, in this game, I don't feel like I probably felt, I'm going to say, against Kentucky, South Carolina, and it worked out this way against Texas A&M, where I was hoping for a little bit more at times. Win by a point, I don't care. Because of the way they're playing right now, I don't care if you win 3-2. Get out of Missouri with a win.
Get out of there with a win and be 9-3 at the end of the year for sure.
That is the difference in you being able to pursue 10 wins.
Yeah.
Is what that is, and I need that.
Agreed. All right, so here's how I think this is going to unfold. I think that we're going to be able to create pressure. I don't think that we will cover Burden all that well, but I think some of that will be subsidized a little bit by the pressure that is on Brady Cook, and I think that he's still going to get his. I can very much see Brady Cook throwing for 300, okay? I can see Burden getting his. I can see Theo Weiss. Why do I feel like it's the wrong pronunciation? The dude, I can see him getting his. However, let me word it this way. Maybe a lot of starter for starter comparisons, maybe in a lot of positions, they're better. Maybe. I mean, quarterback, arguably, Cook is better than Milton. There's going to be a case there. Schrader's pretty dang legit. I would argue that the receiving room right now is better because they're producing more, right? But overall, I think we're deeper. And I think that is going to be indicative of the outcome. I think you're going to see a 27-17 lead for the longest time in our favor, and Mizzou gets a score, top of the fourth, maybe late in the fourth to make it 27-24. I think that's going to be your final, 27-24. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to care because it's going to put us in position for 9-3 unless you just absolutely wet the bed like 2016 Butch Jones in Nashville with the Sugar Bowl on the line. Oh, and I just ruined all the days for Tennessee fans. Unless you just totally wet the bed against Vanderbilt, you're staring at 9-3. You want to go into the Georgia game with a win, and I think that's another factor as well. How well does Missouri get up off the floor? I mean, that's a bit of a heartbreaking loss for them. I think Mizzou showed us that they can play with Georgia, that they can.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, as we talked about in the recap, that they were a play or two away, and it was those plays or two away were costly picks that really changed the scenario for them. And that's what worries me about Mizzou, because they can play with Georgia. But how well do they get up off that? You have to like the odds that it's in Columbia for them. But in our favor, we're basically coming off a bye week, playing with a lot of confidence, ran up the score on a UConn who was, say what you want to about UConn, but they were running their mouth, supposedly. You're talking a bunch of trash, and regardless of who it was, that's just going to put some steam or some wind in your sails. So I think that's going to play a factor as well. I don't think it'd be pretty. But a win will be a win. Give me the Vols 27-24.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and that's two sneaky factors really. One being that we've talked for years about Alabama beating you twice because of how big, strong, fast, the way they beat you down. In addition to the nature of their team, Georgia's kind of clearly in that place now in terms of the guys that they have, top to bottom. They didn't beat them down, but they did kind of just snatch their souls because it was kind of like Missouri's best shot was only good for a 9-point loss. Yeah. So I think that's a sneaky factor. Yep. Tennessee is on a 3, Kentucky, UConn 2-game winning streak. I think that helps. Every little bit of that helps. And in addition, you're playing this game in November in Columbia, Missouri, and the weather forecast is 50s and 60s, dude. It's not going to be
a warm front. Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to be in the teens. It's not going to be snowing in the middle of the day in Columbia, Missouri.
That's definitely in our favor. Yes.
That is 100% in our favor. And we've talked for a long time about that probably not being in Florida's favor when they go up there the next week. Yeah. But here we are, and Tennessee's getting the benefit of that. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day for some football. It's an earlier game, closer to the time of the day in which Tennessee normally practices. When they're gearing up for this, the season and week to week, I think that benefits us. It's not a night game on the road like we've exclusively played almost, and with the exception of Alabama and a few here and there. So I think these are all minor sneaky details that might provide some hidden points for Tennessee, in ways that we may or may not see on Saturday.
Yeah. Dude, hey, great points right there, man. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll shut it down.
Man, I think that's it.
Awesome.
It should be a great game.
It should. I'm just hopeful by the end of it, the orange is on top. So,
amen, brother.
Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It would do us so much love. That's a fragment. We'd appreciate it really much if you push like and subscribe. I'm just going to keep it simple, man. Push the button right now in this moment. Push the like. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're letting us currently tickle thine ears. Thank you so much to our sponsor, North Forsyth Training and Fitness. If you're in this area, make sure you give Jesse Foster a call. Here's to the Vols coming out of this game 8-2. We love you guys. God bless. Go Vols.
Cheerio.